Okay, day 182, Awan Brotherhood. It's good to get back to the slides to kind of sum up the reporting. A lot of knocking on doors and visiting places in the last couple of days. So here's my conclusions. What I see Hillary doing with the ISI and different business leaders is sort of the same thing that Rockefeller did with the Pinkertons. The same way the Pinkertons cleared rail lines for the Rockefellers, it's sort of, and the Harrimans and so forth, and the robber barons. It's the ISI is sort of clearing rat lines for Hillary and that group of investors, if you will. I went to Cleveland, I went to New York, I went to Chicago to show these different places, Detroit, Toronto, Montreal, and to show these different rat lines and show how it was happening, how these rat lines were being created, how they were collapsing neighborhoods, collapsing streets, creating cheap real estate purchase opportunities. And that's really what I want to talk about today, is this idea of using these rat lines to collapse neighborhoods, collapse streets, taking advantage of local populations, and then pushing them into lives of crime through loan sharking and other getting involved in drugs and so forth, and then buying the real estate on the cheap as the final coup de grace. So with respect to the Cleveland Clinic, I'm going to point out Tom Glosser here. Tom Glosser is a longtime Hillary supporter, one of her key supporters, as a matter of fact. And he is one of the key people that has been doing all this different real estate investment in Northwest, the lakefront properties in Chicago, the New York area, as well as the Cleveland and Michigan area. So kind of is I would guess maybe the real estate baron, if you will. Of course, he's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Of course, he's he's a trustee of the Cleveland Clinic. And really, this is the last step in this process of collapsing an area or collapsing a street. Is the hospital, as a nonprofit, then buys it. A lot of public money is then used to pay for the facilities that come in, whether it's hospice care or the nursing homes, emergency care, cancer care, all the different things the Cleveland Clinic does. I go ahead and take all the intellectual property out and move that to Dubai, do training of my people overseas to be doctors. Not that it's not great to train doctors in UAE, but I believe that the doctors should be trained here in the Cleveland Clinic. And we really shouldn't be worried about that much about repressive regimes and their economies when they're swimming in money. If you ever look at the skyline of Dubai lately, or Abu Dhabi, you'll see that they're not hurting for cash. They don't need much more economic development from the Tom Glossers of the world. So now, am I saying Tom Glosser collapsed the neighborhood on 185th and killed those car dealerships for Hillary, killed those people that were running the car dealerships? No, of course I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when real estate people like Tom Glosser create an environment where gangsters like Dawu, Ibrahim here, allow a guy named Ibrahim to run an international crime syndicate in India and Pakistan. He owns 9 homes in Pakistan. He has been responsible for the bombing in Mumbai of 93, 2007, 2017. Long-time contact with the Pakistani ISI, uses the Pakistani 111th for all those bombings in Mumbai. Owns homes in 5-star hotels in India still, owns 9 homes in Pakistan, huge investments in the UK. And now that the Indian intelligence service is trying to get him out of India, he's investing now through the Tom Glossers of the world through real estate investment trusts. So there's a sanitation layer into these areas that Tom Glosser's talking about. So when the McCabe's of the world, when the Andrew McCabe's of the world allow their friends to invest, for any reason, any amount of money, no questions asked, it creates, where there's no check on the money laundering, it creates this type of environment where you open up things to gangsters. Al Capone said, what one great regret do you have? And he said, well, I probably should have bought a bank. He didn't think that because he wanted to make bank profits. He said that because he wouldn't have been able to get caught on tax evasion if he would have bought a bank. He'd be able to cleanse the money. And what Andrew McCabe is doing here is creating this environment where gangsters can invest in the United States. And when you create investment opportunities for people like this, they don't care that a nice couple who've been in business for 33 years get executed on 185th Avenue. All they care about is building that casino on 185th Avenue, or building that hospice care clinic on 185th Avenue, or building that new cancer clinic on 185th Avenue, or building the new emergency facilities on 185th Avenue, or some kind of drug rehab along that golden route on the way to Cleveland Clinic. With methadone centers and treatment centers and so forth. I believe that's what's going to happen. It's impossible to predict the future, but from everything I see, it reminds me so much of Detroit, so much of Toronto, so much of Montreal, so much of Chicago. This is what creates the Holman Squares. You create an environment where lawlessness, no check on international money laundering, and it's gonna find its way through real estate investment trusts to the Tom Closers of the world, and you're going to find that the 185ths are going to be repopulated with some kind of methadone clinic or some kind of Suboxone outpatient facility. So I wanted to draw that parallel today. Again, I don't have solid evidence that Mr. Ibrahim here, who's a longtime friend, by the way, of Benazir Bhutto and built a home right next to Bhutto's son, and chums around with Bhutto's son. I'm not saying this longtime Hillary supporter is directly investing, and Cleveland Clinic has plans on 185th on the other side of Lakeshore Boulevard. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when you have a McCabe not checking the international money laundering, letting Gulen have $43 billion in Malaysian banks with no check, it creates the environment for the Ibrahims and Glosers of the world. That's what I'm saying. That's it for this morning. I'm going to be going to a lot of the different crime scenes in Cleveland again today, and then moving on.